Welcome back to the tavern. Today we are talking about one of my homebrew creations, the Shaman. This is a full caster progression class. You can compare it most aptly to the Sorcerer. And the features of this class include a companion that you can summon with you once for free, sometimes with spell slots. So it's somewhat like the artillerist artificer in that sense, and somewhere sort of like the Beastmaster Ranger, but not a shitty reputation. Pardon my language. But I hope that you enjoy this character. The whole archetype that I designed this around is this shaman that existed in 4th edition and had the call spirit companion power, where you got to as that one did it as many times per day as they wanted, but it was called at will then. But you could summon this spiritual companion to you, and it fought alongside you. Took the form of an ethereal beast of some kind, semi-translucent, maybe blue or green. Personal preference, really flavor. But and your primary role as a character, in addition to having that, was battlefield control and helping your allies, debuffing your enemies, buffing allies, things like that. So I designed this shaman to sort of fill that role, and when designing it, I initially tried to build this as a druid subclass. And no matter how many times I came through it, the features weren't there. The druid subclass build didn't make sense. I was relying too much on making wild shape worse, and that's one of the defining features of the druid. And then I tried to build this as an artificer subclass, and the feel was all wrong because it's not a science and it's more primal magic. So let's jump into it. Your source of your spellcasting as a shaman, as you can see, is a very cool art I found in it. All of it's credited in the bottom corners of the pages from Homebrew. Is you channel the magic from the weave as defined by your spirit guide. You can think of this sort of maybe like the Brother Bear movie almost, if you want to think of it that way. The other way that you can think of this is Paolini style magic from the inheritance cycle, where the strength of your body is what you need to rely on to be able to safely channel these magics through you. You are not the source of this. You are a conduit. You are a channel letting these magics come from the weave and the plane ethereal into the material world. So let's jump in. We're going to cover the base class in this video, and I'm going to do the two subclasses in another video. So if you want to hear more about the subclasses, jump back for one of them. I'll probably do both of them in the same video as well. So here we have the Shaman table and the quick build. All of this is designed in Homebrew. I'll give a link to the Shaman page as well as this Reddit page of designing your own class and or subclasses, which I found as a fantastic resource in the description down below as well. So quick build, we're going to go with Constitution and Intelligence as our best ability scores. You are a Constitution caster. Now, gut reaction is probably, that's too powerful. Constitution is hit points. But Constitution does nothing else. It is just your hit points, your ability to resist things like poison, and maintain concentration on spells. Con save and sort of environmental hazards are sometimes con saves, like extreme cold or heat. It resists exhaustion, basically. But it's not tied to anything else. The wizard who has intelligence spellcasting, their primary ability score, intelligence, also relates to their arcana, their history, their nature, their religion skills, their investigation skill. The wizard, the cleric who has wisdom as their primary casting, or the druid, for example, because there's two using wisdom. That also applies to their proficiency, their insight, their animal handling for all the times you roll that in your campaigns. But those are primary abilities that are tying not only to spellcasting but also as skill. And the fact that your primary spellcasting is Constitution, you're going to have a lot of hit points because you're going to want to max that out to 20 by the end of the campaign. But you're not getting the main benefit of that ability to any of your skills. And I felt like that was a fair balance on it. Secondly, your intelligence. I chose intelligence because you're not meant to be a big dumb brute that has spellcasting. You're meant to be this intelligent, archival type of character. You're supposed to be like the spiritual leader of maybe the peoples that you come from or the tribe, or maybe you're on a journey of self-discovery. So let's jump into it. We have hit points. 1d12 is your hit dice per shaman level. It is a massive hit dice that is balanced by you have very, very poor armor proficiencies, and unlike every other full caster, or even the pact caster in the warlock, you do not have defensive spells with the exception of Barkskin. You have one defensive spell in your entire spell list to make it harder to hit you. And you can get 16 AC fairly easily with the class already by wearing the ringmail and carrying and gaining a shield proficiency somehow. Some races will give you a shield proficiency. So D12 hit dice, high hit dice, but you have no defensive spells. You have, like the sorcerer does. The sorcerer's got a ton of defensive spells, and you don't have something like rage that the barbarian has, the other D12 class, to reduce that damage down. You are tanking hits purely by the fact that you have a lot of hit points. You have your primary constitution caster, but you're gonna be taking full damage from a lot of things. So your armor proficiencies, padded, that is light armor. It's the worst kind of light armor. Leather, so you have the 11 armor. You do not get studded leather. Hides, so the worst kind of medium armor, and ringmail, the worst kind of heavy armor. So you have 2 lights. You can wear regular cloth if you want to. Maybe you're a turtle and it doesn't matter. And you have the worst of each kind. This is meant to give you the feeling that there's not a lot out in the wild where most shamans will come from. You get training with what you have, you make what you can, and that's what you're used to. Maybe you have proficiency somewhere else. Weapons, simple weapons, scimitars, short swords, and tridents. I picked those 3 because those 3 weapons were historically fairly easy to design. Put a few spikes on the end of a stick and you have a trident. Simple weapon already has a spear in it. Scimitars, short swords, fairly simple cutting weapons. They existed during the Bronze Age. So you have fairly easy, to get more of a history nerd on you, but fairly simple weapons. Constitution, intelligence for the saving throws, not a surprise there. 1 primary, 1 secondary. 2 skills, animal handling, history, insight, medicine, nature, and survival. So very out in the open type of thing. Starting equipment, pretty standard build. Spellcasting, cantrips, you get 4 cantrips. Your whole cantrip progression, if we take a look at the feature list here, is the same as the sorcerer. 4, 5, and then at 10th level, you get your 6th cantrip, and then you stay at 6 the rest of the game, unless you pick them up from a feat or a multi-classing. Spells known, you have the same spells known as a sorcerer as well, plus 1 at every level. So you start at 3 instead of 2, and you go up the same time that a sorcerer would gain an additional spell known. The reason I've done that is because you have no spellcasting recovery ability. You have no meta magic, you have no flexible casting like a sorcerer, you have no arcane recovery like a wizard. So you get a little bit more flexibility in your known spells, and you actually get a little bit additional flexibility on top of that. So you have 3 spells at first level. We'll talk about second level since that's when you get your spirit companion as well. So we have cantrips, spell slots, spells known first level and higher. You do not change out your spells known or one of your spells known when you gain a level. You can change out one spell you know, one shaman spell you know of first or higher level when you finish a long rest. Now, you don't get to change out your entire list. You are not a druid. You are not a cleric. You only get one every day. So, if it gives you a little bit of flexibility because you're not a preparation caster, and you can't really bend your spells in the way a sorcerer can. But you do get to say, we're going to have some downtime days. I'm going to switch out one of these spells to maybe cure wounds, so that way I can start brewing a potion of cure wounds, which would be a basic healing potion, I think is the equivalent. I would rule it as a DM. All right. So now we have spells known of first level and higher. So we covered the learning and relearning spells as you take long rests. This is because your spirit guide is talking to you from the plane ethereal and is whispering different spells into your ear. Not in words that you would understand, but you sort of just wake up with, oh, I know how to do that instead of that type of feeling. And you can roleplay that up if you want to. All right, class-defining feature. Spellcasting focus, use a druidic focus. Class-defining feature, here we go. Shamanic Guide is the subclass. Like a cleric, you get your subclass at level 1. we're going to come back to that in another video, so we're going to skip through that for now. It gives you additional features at 1, 6, 10, 14, and 18. So the class-defining feature is the Spirit Companion, and this is what really motivated me to build this class. At second level, you've learned enough to bring ethereal forces into the physical reality. This force takes the form of a beast of your choice. While it is not your shamanic guide, it is a physical extension of their ethereal force, given form by your discipline. I think I spelled ethereal wrong there. As a bonus action, you can magically conjure your Spirit Companion in unoccupied space within 15 feet of you. It is a magical, semi-translucent green and blue ethereal form of a beast of your choice that lasts for 10 minutes until it is destroyed or until you dismiss it as a bonus action or until you are incapacitated. So 10 minutes, destroyed, dismissed, incapacitated. So one of those things happens, it's gone. Now, we'll jump back to the AC in a moment. Once you conjure your Spirit Companion right above the image right here, once you conjure your Spirit Companion, you can't do so again until you finish a long rest, so long rest only, or you expend a spell slot at first level or higher to do so. So a couple easy ways. I pulled that directly from the Artificer Artillerist, who can conjure their turrets, arcane turrets in that way. And I thought it was a really cool way. You get one for free, and then you have to spend your resources too. So we'll jump into the next part of it. So AC is 10 plus proficiency bonus. Not high. Caps out at about 16 the end of the game. It's still not great AC. Like some monsters in tier 4 are going to have plus 16 to hit, so they have a 5% chance of missing your Spirit Companion. So not the highest armor. But that's contrasted by the second ability. Hit points equals your Constitution modifier. So let's say probably 4 by level 8. You'll probably have an 18 con. Plus twice your Shaman level. So at level 8, we'll use the same example, which would be 16 plus 4, your modifier. So you'll have 20 in your as a hit points for your Spirit Companion. It has immunity to all conditions, so no prone, paralyzed, and none of that stuff. If it has to make a saving throw, it uses your bonus, so it can be affected by saves. Dragonfire hits it, fireballs hit it, all of that stuff. And it's the same size as you. So if you're a small character like a gnome, your Spirit Companion is also small. On your turn, you can mentally command the companion to move up to 30 feet in any direction, no action required. You can have your Spirit Companion being a flying creature if that feels more akin. There's no benefit or drawback to it. The Spirit Companion wording was taken directly from the Echo Knight, which was an Explorer's Guide to Wildemount subclass for the fighter. Everything was built using that sort of as the base, so that way the features are already tested. They're already published in a book endorsed by WotC, and I didn't want to stray away from that too much, especially designing a whole massive feature like this. I wanted to use established things already and just tweak things a little bit. If your Spirit Companion would take damage less than its hit points, that is not its maximum hit points, it's hit points, it takes no damage instead. If your Spirit Companion ever takes more damage than its hit points total, or if it is ever more than 60 feet away from you at any point, not end of turn, any point, it vanishes into mist and is destroyed. So, the way I've worded this specifically is there are some things that cannot reduce, where the damage cannot be reduced in any way. Not just in this class, but spells and effects in the game. This damage cannot be prevented in any way. Lots of traps can do it. If you are the DM and you have a player like this, you can run something like that. The Spirit Companion can still take damage from effects like that, but it's not the most common way for it to take damage. So at 8th level, with an 18 con, your Shaman can conjure this Spirit Companion with 20 hit points. Mind you, it costs 1 for use and then spell slots after that. And if it takes less than 20 damage, it's fine. It's not going to go anywhere. Now, that sounds powerful. Bear with me for a moment. Not a pun because there's a bear on the screen. It wasn't intended, but worth it. As a bonus action, you can command the Spirit Companion to make a melee attack against a creature within 5 feet of it. It has a natural attack using your spell attack bonus, which deals 1d6 plus your Constitution modifier force damage. This is literally spiritual weapon with a worse damage dice. It's using your spellcasting ability modifier, your spellcasting attack. You can move at 30 feet, whereas spiritual weapon can only move 20 feet. But it's that. It's spiritual weapon. That can be destroyed by damage, has to make saves against AoE effects, whereas Spiritual Weapon can only be destroyed by Dispel Magic. And if we jump back for a moment, as a bonus action, you can magically conjure your Spirit Companion into an unoccupied space you see. So, as a DM, I would rule, if one of my players had this, if one of my NPCs casts Dispel Magic on the Spirit Companion, it would work. It's magically conjured, so Dispel Magic would work. And I would probably also get into it more, like if they spent a 5th level spell slot to conjure it again, might have to Dispel Magic at a 5th level, or maybe they'll have to roll for it if they don't realize. So there's some fun role play in there, or fun opportunities for back and forth. When a creature that you can see within 5 feet of your Spirit Companion moves at least 5 feet away from it, you can use your reaction, cost yours, to have your companion make an opportunity attack against the target. So it is a spiritual weapon that you can spend your reaction to make opportunity attacks on. So you have another 8 squares on a standard grid of threatened space that spiritual weapon doesn't do normally. And whenever, this is the big one, whenever you cast a Shaman spell with a range of self, you can have your Spirit Companion be the focus of that spell instead of you. And that's the real cool feature about this, is you can be the caster that's setting a Spirit Guardians on your Spirit Companion. And now it's, if they get trapped next to the Spirit Companion and move away, because they're in Spirit Guardians AoE, the Cleric spell, it's on the spell list for the Shaman as well, they're taking damage and they have to move at half speed, and your Spirit Companion is going to make a swipe at them with the Bear Claws, or a snap if you're thinking of like maybe a giant boa or something. Or maybe a talon from a giant hawk, or however you so choose. So, really fun in that way. So let's jump down. Next feature, well-traveled. Starting at 3rd level, your travels have increased your effective and esoteric knowledge about a myriad of subjects. Choose 2 skills. Arcana, History, Investigation, Nature, Religion. So all intelligence skills. You gain proficiency in those skills, and your proficiency bonus is double for any ability check that uses either of those proficiencies. Expertise is not actually a mechanic feature in game. It's not a phrasing of proficiencies. It is a feature. So if you're going to use the word expertise, you need to copy and paste the exact wording of expertise from the rogue, or I believe the bard classes. This is gaining proficiency in 2 skills and gaining basically double proficiency. It's the same effect of expertise. It's just not worded the same because you gain proficiency in it as well. The expertise skill feature from the rogue doesn't actually give you proficiency in the skills you choose. You have to choose ones that you already have proficiency in. So you're getting 2 more skills at 3rd level. Ability score improvement, 4, 8, 12, 16, 19. Super standard, same as every other full caster. And now the 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th levels, Ethereal Blessings, which are 11th, 13th, 15th, and 17th level. You may notice these are carbon copies from the Warlock. These are the Mystic Arcanum that the Warlock gets. It is once per day, you cast this spell. You can cast this spell. You cannot change the spell selection once it's made. It is forever with you. It's not a spell known, so you can't spend your slots on it unless you have it as one of your known spells as well. But it is a free 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th level spell. This sounds powerful, I know. But in proper campaign planning, one of the things that you should always keep in mind is downtime for your party. So that downtime for the adventurers is going to be integral in talking to your player about making these choices when they start hitting these higher levels. It starts at tier 2, level 11. And you're going to want to talk to them. They might want to be the person who picks a damage spell for one of these. I would recommend, if you're playing a shaman, take a good look at the spell list and make a selection of a spell that you're going to find yourself wanting to cast on days when you are adventuring, you are facing combat or traps or exploring a dungeon, and days when you're in town, when you're shopping, when you're brewing potions, things like that. These are going to be conscious choices. They are late level choices, but they need to be conscious choices. And talk to your DM about this as well, about what are you going to find yourself needing to do on a regular adventuring day. Finally, 20th level feature. We're going to cover these. We're going to jump down to the spell list in a moment, so that way we can double check the 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th level spells as well. Spiritual Vigor, 20th level. You cannot multi-class or you do not get this feature, so a little bit of a higher cost. It's also end of game. When you reach 20th level, the vigor of the natural and spiritual world fills your body. Your hit points gained in this class are adjusted to become the maximum amount possible. The calculation is done before any hit point bonuses from other features is applied. So, if, for example, you have the tough feat, plus 2 hit points per level, and let's say you have an 18 constitution that you finish the game in, you would have 20 times your 4 constitution modifier, so you'd have 80 hit points there. Then you'd have 40 hit points for 2 per level from tough, so another 120 there. And at 19th level, assuming you're taking the average hit points per level, which is a 7 on a d12, which is your hit dice, you would have 12 for first level, and then 18 levels of 7s. When you reach 20th level, instead of gaining that 7 for that 20th level, that is a 12. And those 18 levels that you've gotten in the past of 7s now become 12s. So it is the effect, you are effectively turning your hit point total to your hit point maximum that you could gain in this class. And there's nothing else. That's the only feature. There's no defensive bonus. There's just you become this walking pool of hit points. You are very good at resisting effects at that point. You have these awesome spells. You are a world breaker. You are meant to survive. You are an endurance character. This capstone is so high up in level. It's the last thing you could gain in the game. There's no feats left. There's nothing. You're gaining 20th level. You get one thing. It's this. Well, you get a couple more spell slots, but this is the 20th level feature. You are meant to be this thing that does not die. And I couldn't think of a better way to do it than you just have the hit points every single time. All right, let's jump down to the spell list. All right, the Shaman spell list. This took a lot of going through back and forth, playing around with it. And I think I got a strong list set, but with some good roleplay elements in it as well. Cantrips, level 0s. I copied the exact formatting that they use in the player's handbook, and they do have like 0 level in brackets, in parentheses in the player's handbook, so that's why I included it here. So we have Control Flames, Druidcraft, Guidance, Light, Mold Earth, Resistance, Spare the Dying as your non-damaging cantrips. I picked those because Control Flames, Druidcraft, Guidance, Resistance, Light, Mold, they all feel sort of primal. They still feel divine. The Cleric has Light spell. Druids don't get it. But you also don't get Produce Flame, which the Druids usually use as their Light spell. And Spare the Dying, a little bit more cleric-y, so sort of a hybrid between the two. And Druidcraft is your Prestidigitation cantrip. I was debating putting Shape Water on here, but I decided against it. I thought Mold Earth was good enough. In the damaging cantrips, we have Create Bonfire. You create a hazard on the field. It's concentration, but you don't have to keep casting it if they don't move, which is pretty cool. We have Ray of Frost, ranged attack roll, and they slow down by 10 feet when you hit them. Sapping Sting, it's a save. If they fail to save, they take the damage and fall prone. No save against the prone, they just failed against the spell, they're prone. Shocking Grasp, melee spell attack. If they get hit by the attack, they can't take reactions until the start of their next turn. And Vicious Mockery, ranged verbal. If they fail to save, they have disadvantage on their next attack roll. So the reason I chose these spells is for the damaging cantrips is all of them have a secondary effect. And I wanted the feel of the Shaman to be apparent just from looking at the cantrip lists. You are not a primary damage dealer. Your role is to hamper the enemies and aid your allies. Shock and Grasp. Maybe my rogue needs to get away. Let me try to shock this guy that's right next to me, so that way they can get away without having to spend their disengage, and they can hide so they can get a sneak attack and have advantage. Or maybe the wizard needs to get away. Rogue's not the best example, but Vicious Mockery. Maybe the barbarian has been recklessly attacking, and this one Remoraz, who only has a single attack, has been dealing significant damage to the Barbarian because it keeps getting advantage on attacks. Let me cancel out that advantage. Let me give it disadvantage so that way our Barbarian can recklessly attack a little bit more safely. Sapping Sting, a little bit of battlefield control. Drop them down. Their speed drops by half because they have to spend half their speed to get up. Maybe the enemy wizard is super trying to get away and has cast like freedom of movement on themselves. That doesn't stop them from going prone. So, but it would stop Ray of Frost. So let me knock them prone. Let them spend half their movement standing back up. So some fun stuff there. Create Bonfires are the one that technically only deals damage, but it deals damage and it stays in the area. That's why I put it on there, and it felt like it fit the theme. First levels, we got some good damage spells, a lot of ally buffs, a lot of enemy debuffs. So we have Bane and Bless off the Cleric lists, Armor of Agathis from the Warlock list, so super hardy survival type of thing. One of your only main defensive spells to self-buff. Ceremony, Flavor, Comprehend Languages, Cure Wounds, Attack, Dissonant Whispers, Fairy Fire, amazing. Find Familiar, very fun thing to do with your bonus actions. There is a cost because for the Familiar though, and you might use it for only scouting outside of combat because most of your bonus actions are going to be occupied in combat, again using your Spirit Companion. So you're not going to be using your Familiar in combat for Familiar shenanigans because you can have better things to do with your bonus action. Notable things I've left off this list. Healing Word. There is no Healing Word on this. There's no Shield. There's no Absorb Elements. There's no Mage Armor. You have no defenses. Your defense is your hit dice and your Constitution. Hang in there. You have Armor of Agathis and you have Bless to help with saves, but you gotta plan out this character. You have Guiding Bolt to help your allies, Sleep to hinder your enemies, Sanctuary to protect yourself if you're just going to be throwing out buffs here and there. Second level, we're jumping in a little bit different things. We have Acid Arrow Aid. Aid is another way to increase hit points for yourself and allies. So if you want to do a ranged healing type of thing, you can throw Aid out in the middle of combat, which technically works as a healing word, but it costs you a second level spell, not a first level. And I believe it's an action as well. So much higher cost for ranged healing to get someone off of 0, to get them out off the ground. Dragon's Breath, Heat Metal, Invisibility, Knock, Misty Step, Pass Without Trace, Prayer of Healing, one of your other healing spells. Warding Bond, one of fantastic spells. Note, one of my playtesters has been testing out throwing Warding Bond between him and his Spirit Companion, so that way if he takes damage, half of it goes to his Spirit Companion, and as long as half of the damage that he takes, if the Spirit Companion takes damage, half of it goes to him instead of the Spirit Companion. So I had it backwards. So the Spirit Companion, let's say it has hit points, let's say 16 con, so 3, let's say 6th level Shaman, so 6, 12, 15. So 15 hit points. So if the Spirit Companion takes 20 hit points, 20 points of damage, first of all, is that enough to destroy the Spirit Companion? Yes, it is. So the Spirit Companion would take 20 points of damage, but a half of it goes to him. So now the Spirit Companion is not destroyed. He takes 10, the Spirit Companion takes 10. This is also one of the things that I've talked about. If it would take damage, you've already assessed that it would take this damage. It is then gains resistance to the damage. So the Spirit Companion does take damage in that instance. But it's not enough to destroy it. So now the Spirit Companion only has 5 left, but it's still standing, it's still fighting, it's still occupying its space, providing a threat, which is really fun. Different example, let's say the Spirit Companion has 15 hit points, but only takes 10 damage. Would 10 be enough to destroy the Spirit Companion? No, it takes nothing. And he takes nothing, because it's not enough to destroy. So it's a really cool way of getting around the Spirit Companion being destroyed in the instances that it would be. And I thought it was a very clever use of the spell. Maybe his adventuring companions aren't going to be as friendly when he's not protecting them with Warding Bond instead of just trying to keep the animal up that he can spend another first level spell slot summoning. So, roleplay conflict. Fun. Maximilian's Earthen Grasp, Knock. So you have these utility things that you find on the Bard list, the Cleric list, and the Wizard list, but you don't have massive damage spells. You have Acid Arrow, maybe as your ranged damage spell at this level, And you have Earthen Grasp, which is concentration. Maybe Heat Metal or Whole Person. Whole Person not technically damage, but it's basically damage. Free crits. Third level, we get Call Lightning, Super Druidy Cantrip, Super Shamany, not Cantrip, Super Druidy Spell, Super Shamany Spell, feels right. Spell Magic, Hypnotic Pattern, oh, the Northern Lights, what? Combat doesn't exist anymore. Plant Growth, Protection Energy, Slow, Spirit Guardians, fantastic. It's a self spell, so you can throw that on your Spirit Companion, don't forget. Tongues, and then we get into this theme that I started to jump into. You have the Wall of Sand, Wall of Water, Wall of Wind. So you have the third level wall spells. Fourth level, Banishment, Blight, Dimension Door, Divination, Freedom of Movement, Sickening Radiance, Exhaustion's Killer. Then we have the spheres, Storm, Vitriolic, and Watery Sphere. So another theme there. Fifth level, we have Wall of Force. Add one more, Pass Wall. Legend Lore, you have your only resurrection spell is Raise Dead. You do not have Revivify. The reason you do not have Revivify is you cannot do it in combat. It takes time. So Raise Dead, you can do it. It's your only spell. That is the only Raise Dead spell you have, and it takes an hour to cast. And 500 gold worth of diamonds. But it's the one concession I made. You have Cure Wounds, you have Mass Cure Wounds at same level. You have Warding Bond / Aid, and you have Prayer of Healing as your primary healing spells. It's not your primary role, but you can do it. Commune with Nature, Restoration, Hold Monster, fun stuff. All right, let's jump into 6 levels, and these are I'm going to go through a little bit more detail because they are tied to the spiritual blessings. All right. 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th level. Not a lot of spells here, but we'll go through them. And keep in mind, all of these, you're going to pick one of these spells as you gain access to the spell slot level, and you will forever be able to cast that spell once per day without spending a spell slot. So that choice is going to be very important for developing how your character feels. 6th level, starting out strong, Chain Lightning. Very, very powerful spell. Could be one of your spiritual blessings. Get a free Chain Lightning once per day. But what are you going to do during downtime with that? Maybe some arcane contraption and you're helping out. It could work. Contingency or instant summons. Instant summons is just a rename of Dromji's instant summons. The reason being, maybe your campaign doesn't have Dromji as a character in it. So you have just regular instant summons. That might be something to use during downtime days, as I'm going to use my summons to bind this superior healing potion that's in the chest at home to the sapphire. Now all I have to do is crush the sapphire and I have a superior healing potion in my hand right away. So there's fun things that you can do with that. You can have different sapphires labeled. This one summons Giant Strength. This one summons a magical tome. This one summons the Wizard's extra spell book. This one summons my healing potion. Like, some fun stuff for bookkeeping if you want to play a little bit of bookkeeping or help out with the party as well. Next up, we have Contingency. I jumped over that real quick. Contingency is an amazing spell. My recommendation for default contingencies, especially with the spell list, is Dispel Magic, one of your fantastic ones. You could throw Cure Wounds as a contingency on yourself. 5th level Cure Wounds on myself if I hit 0 hit points. Or when I am reduced to 0 hit points, I cast Mass Cure Wounds, targeting myself and as many allies within the radius as I can. There's really fun things that you can do with contingency and cure spells on the same list. Raise Dead. You could contingency a Raise Dead on yourself, which could be really fun. Like, you die in combat and boom, you're back up at 1 hit point. You better spend that Cure Wounds as a 7th level to get yourself back going again, or maybe a 6th level. But you have it. You're just not dead right there. There's really cool things that you can do with this. And I like the play around ability of it. And maybe a good choice for your spiritual blessings. The investitures, Ice, Fire, Flame, Stone, and Wind. Sorry, Flame, Ice, Stone, and Wind. Keep them in the right order. Defensive buffs. Harm and Heal. 2 really cool spells off the Cleric list. I wanted to include them. Hero's Feast. Amazing hit point buff. Protection from immunity to poison damage. Can't be feared. Really cool effects in there. And then Transport via Plants, the Druid teleportation effect. You know that tree? I'm going to walk through that tree to some other tree on different continent than I know. and this is one of the big choices, I think, for your spiritual blessing as well. It's once per day a free teleport to some other tree somewhere else in the world. Oh, my downtime. I'm going to go to this other city that we've been and catch up with this guy, or I'm going to go pick him up and bring him back because we need him to work on our keep or something. So really interesting. Or I'm going to go visit home and talk to my shamanic master about maybe they know something about what we're facing. All right. So really cool choice. All of these are fantastic choices, I think. And you do have the one big damage spell here in Chain Lightning. And I tried to make sure there was a damage spell at each level, but not the best damage spell at each level. 7th level, so you have Etherealness, Firestorm, Plane Shift, Regenerate, Symbol, and Teleport. So you have the other teleport spell. You do not have Teleportation Circle at 5th level, so you have these are only 2. So you have Teleport, amazing spell. Risk of going wrong, but go anywhere that you've seen. You also have Scrying, so maybe you can see something, even if you've never been there, and risk a teleport to it. But you could also have 2 teleports per day if you choose your summons, your blessing as that. So good choice there. All right, let's jump back into the 8th levels. Firestorm, your default damage. Plane Shift, it's your 3rd teleportation spell, just to a different plane, not to a different spot. So let's jump it back in with the 8th level spells. 8th level spells, only 5 choices here. Abi Dalzim's Horrid Withering, Demiplane, Holy Aura, Incendiary Cloud, and Mind Blank. Of this, I think my choice for Spiritual Blessing would be Mind Blank. Should just spend it every day and just not ever be scryed on again. As a DM, I've used scrying in my campaign for my NPCs on the players, and it is a nasty piece of work when the enemy knows what their ambush plan was. So, really cool things there. Demiplane, awesome storage way. Holy Aura, very powerful. Incendiary Cloud, fantastic damage. 9th level, Gate, Mass Heal, Meteor Swarm, Prismatic Wall, Psychic Scream, and Shape Change. Really powerful 9th level spells, and you get one of them every day. So you could pick Shape Change every day and become a dragon every day if you wanted to, or something else. Prismatic Wall or Psychic Scream. You could choose Mass Heal every day or Gate and do this plane hopping thing really easily. Or if you plane shift to the wrong point, you could gate your party to you or something like that. Meteor Swarm, you could be the guy that has 2 Meteor Swarms per day. Or Mass Heal, you could have that free Mass Heal once per day as just nah, we're good guys. So really cool 9th level spells here. Awesome options. And by this point in the campaign, if you're the Dungeon Master, you can handle these spells being cast twice. If you've run them from 1st or 2nd level all the way up to level 17 at this point, I have confidence in your ability. You've ran a full campaign. Yes, 2 Meteor Swarms back to back is rough. They've also spent their one choice of this 9th level Spiritual Blessing on a Meteor Swarm that is only good in what? Maybe 5 or 6 huge fights at the end of the campaign against Tiamat or against like the Big Bad Evil of your Homebrew campaign. Yeah, it's rough. But your Big Bad Evil could also have Absorb Elements or Resistance to Fire or Counterspell. These spells are still counterable. So there are ways to come around these as a DM, and these are not the most powerful features as opposed to other features from other classes get at these levels. The Spiritual Blessings, the Mystic Arcanum, is widely considered the worst features of the Warlock, and I wanted to try to make them worthwhile and in a good incentive to push towards as you get 2 6th, 2 7th, 2 8th, 2 9th level spells as soon as you gain access to that level at a high cost still. So hope you enjoyed the Shaman. We'll see you back next time. And let me know what you think of the video format as well. I look forward to hearing your comments. I do read them all, even if I don't get back to them all the time. See you next time.